I'm going to share 3 tips with you today that will not just make your writing better, it will energize your writing and it will energize your writing experience. For the first tip, we are going to go on a little field trip. First tip, get yourself out of the house, out of the apartment, out of your office, and get into nature or get onto the city street. We are blessed. We live in Colorado, outside the cities, snow-covered mountains in the background, in a beautiful place. It doesn't have to be this beautiful. It could be more beautiful. It doesn't matter. What matters is you get outside and let yourself be inspired by whatever is outside. Don't let yourself get too distracted, like you see something, oh, I need to do this, or I need to go check on my taxes or my email, whatever. You're in part of the writing process. Stay in that process. When you go out, come back, you will be very pleasantly surprised at how that inspires you. This will energize your writing itself. It will energize your writing practice. It'll make it more fun and enjoyable, I promise. For my second point, I am going to break one of my sacred rules. And no, I'm not talking about how I'm dressed, but that's part of it. I'm writing as the sun's coming up, and my sacred rule is I don't do anything else. I don't shoot videos. I don't edit my videos. I don't do finances. I don't check email. No, I get people sometimes very upset with me because I hadn't seen. Didn't you see the email I sent you this morning? I sent it like at 8 o'clock. No, I do not check emails before 10 o'clock generally. And sometimes until afternoon. And that is part of the whole thing. And that thing that I'm trying to tell you about is that I get up, I do my spiritual practice, and that's whatever it takes me. It might be half an hour, it might be 45 minutes, it might be an hour and a half. And after I finish my spiritual practice for the day, I write. And that's all I do. And Rachel Jane, my partner, my wife, my collaborator, she's my biggest supporter. So you may or may not have that ability to get that kind of support from your partner, but whether you do or not, or whether you have a partner or not, it does not matter. This really works wonders. Not only efficiency, but also creativity, because the subconscious mind will know when you are planning to be creative, when you're planning to express. And a lot of times in the middle of the night, I'll have an epiphany, I'll have an aha moment, the light bulb will go on over my head at 2 a.m. when I'm trying to sleep. And what I do is I'll make a note, and then first thing I write. And that is huge. Now, it does not have to be first thing for you. Some people would rather take time, for example, after lunch or in the evening. Whatever it is, whatever works for you, choose that time, make it sacred, stick to it. It will make so much difference. It will energize your writing, and it will energize your writing practice. For the third tip, I'm going to suggest something that I've talked about before, and I personally believe this is the most important of all 3 tips. If you are a writer, I can practically guarantee that you do this to some degree, and that is following the sine wave. And by the sine wave is this wave that over time it goes up, it goes down, it goes up again, it goes down. That is how we see our own abilities as a writer. It's how we see our particular project, whatever book we're working on. Sometimes we think it's awesome, sometimes we think it's awful. And in my experience as a writer, as a writing coach, and having worked with hundreds of writers over the years, I have never seen an exception where this doesn't actually take place. At some point, everyone gets a little discouraged about what they're writing, and then they regroup, whatever happens, and it goes back up toward the top of that curve, and they might stay there for a while and then go down. The danger of that sine wave is not being aware of it, not being aware that this is a very normal process of writing and thinking like, oh, my writing's awful. So that sine wave, when it's down at the bottom and they are seeing their writing as really bad, or their project is really bad, useless, it's just garbage, they jump off that curve. And what happens is, they don't wait for that uplift from the curve again. Now, in the middle of that curve, it's what I call a zone of reality. In other words, it's realistic. It's like, yeah, I think it's about this good. It could be better, and it's true. Or I think it's this good. It could be worse. That's also true. And we don't stay in that zone of reality. Sometimes we think our work's better than it is. Sometimes we think it's not as good as it is. So important to be aware of this. On the other extreme, so we talked about jumping off at the bottom, jumping off at the top, and I've seen people do this where they've put a little work into a project. I want to release it by this date, and they might have a great marketing plan, and they do not get that project, they do not get that book to anywhere close to where it could be, and they're thinking, this is amazing, this is incredible, and it might be good, but it's not their best work, and it's not nearly as good as they're thinking, and they jump off at the top. And as a result, they don't get any better as a writer, and their project doesn't get any better. So I've known people that I've had the honor to coach who are really good writers who have done this. They've jumped off at the top of the curve, and with their permission, I see the editor's feedback and had discussions with the editors, and they might disregard every single thing the editor says because they're up here, right? They think their work is unrealistically better than it actually is. And as a result, who needs editor's feedback if your work is already good? All I'm suggesting, and I swear this will make the most difference in your writing, and it'll make the most difference in your writing experience, because when you are aware of the sine wave, it becomes so much more pleasant to write. It becomes more fun. Okay, I'm at the bottom of the curve. My wife even uses that language with me sometimes. Like I'll say, oh, I don't know if this project is going anywhere. She goes, you got to be kidding. This book is amazing. And you're just at the bottom of your sine wave. And I'm like, okay, you got me there. And sometimes I'll send it off for editing, and I'll be at the top of the sine wave. And I'm going to confess something to you. Many times I have sent something off to an editor. I don't want to say I do it most of the time, but I've done it many times. I send it off the editor, and I think, well, they won't have anything to say because it's perfect. And they come back with a whole list of things where it could improve. And I don't ever take everything. Well, I haven't. I want to say I don't ever, but I haven't taken everything every editor has suggested, because they might fit with what I want to do and whatnot, but they help me think of other things. So it's up there, and then I get the feedback from the editors, and then I'm down more in the zone of reality, and sometimes I'll go below, but I know it's going to come back up. So those are the 3 tips. Get outside every day when you're writing, especially if you're feeling stuck. Have a time to write. Have that time that is sacred for writing. And third, be aware of that sine wave. Thanks very much for being with me here today, and please do take advantage of some of my other videos. If you like the video, click like. If you'd like to subscribe, and you'll be notified of any other videos that come along. This has been Datta with The Inspired Writer. Thank you for tuning in.